From deep within his Nebraska fortress comes rapidly aging technology with another video. Welcome to another episode of Rapidly Aging Technology. I'm at home under the weather and decided to do another video with you guys. So the ongoing project in the living room has been the audio system, which has been seen in the previous video, but has evolved and it kept changing, and it will get its own dedicated video going over the details of the components and maybe a little bit of things to think about when you live in an apartment and want to have a hi-fi system. But today I thought it would be video worthy to go over this particular edition, because it's something that doesn't really exist as much as it used to, which is kind of a theme of this channel. Not old necessarily, not gone, but no longer commonly sold. If we look at the label, you'll see that this is a Onkyo product and a certified reconditioned product, which is going to be a little cheaper than normal. It is the DX-C390 in black. That's what the B is for. It is a record changer. So without further ado, I'm going to start cracking open this box. I don't know if I'll show me fumbling with the cutting, but we'll get it taken out, and we'll kind of go over its features and talk about why I think they don't exist much anymore. If you do check, well, let's get it out and then I'll discuss that a bit more. So here's our first look inside. Now, this is a good sign. Now, if you looked at that label, it said it was a certified reconditioned unit. Refurbished may have surface, some cosmetic damage, and you have to get your own cables. Well, we have a sealed manual remote and has some cables in there. So this is already a good sign. When I bought this on eBay from Onkyo's official store, I suspected something in my favor. We'll find out if it's true. That it actually might just be a completely brand new unit that they've labeled as reconditioned to basically have a sale, right? And maybe offer perhaps a lower warranty. But eBay's certified recondition program offers a 2-year warranty, which must be on top of Onkyo's, so I'm not sure. But I do know that people have purchased cassette decks, like from TIAC and Tascam, that have been, labeled as open box or used, and have actually been brand new. I think V Westlife, was it V Westlife got his that way? I think so. So I'm hoping this is the same situation. It's looking good so far. Faceplate's looking good through the plastic. All right, so I've taken the plastic off, and aside from my own handprints getting on this thing, it doesn't really look like there's any cosmetic damage. Just some markings from my hands and maybe from the plastic being on the case. Nothing really there. The faceplate does look good. So as I said, this is a record changer with a 6-disc capacity and a few extra features that they like to tout. They have what's called vector linear shaping circuitry, which I'm not sure exactly what that's supposed to do. Perhaps it's something about its, if I remember, I think it's something to do with its DAC, digital analog converter. Possibly, I don't know, trying to be less harsh. There's probably a better description. If I find something in writing, maybe I'll put it up on the screen. Direct digital path. I do remember it's basically saying that its digital signal and some of those important signals are in a dedicated, well-shielded cable and section of the unit to keep it from interfering with anything else. Now, I don't know if that's just to help it in general, or if they're really touting that if you use a digital output on this thing, that's kept really isolated, if that's really the key feature. So we will, not sure about that. Not sure what VQA is. I don't recall that being on the advertisement, but other than that, we have our repeat, random, dimmer, and display buttons. We have open, disk skip, and then navigation, pause, skip ahead, and folder controls, and which disk you want, and stop, play, pause. So, as I mentioned earlier, if you look online, Amazon, B&H Photo, pick your poison, right? And if you look for a record changer, a unit that can play CDs, not record changer, CD changer, that can play CDs, but more than one, you're going to find this guy, and maybe a couple other ones that if you dig deeper have been discontinued. There's one by Yamaha that's discontinued. I don't think anyone really has much stock of it. There's a Sony one, there's a few others. These are not really being made much anymore. So we have our analog out, digital out, so you can use this as a transport. A CD transport is a CD player, but instead of having or using its own DAC, use something external. My amplifier has its own DAC, so that'd be an option. But currently, its DAC the connectors to the DAC are being used by the TV, and then by my Laserdisc player for its audio out. So it can be if I want a transport for CDs, it is a very good CD player, and so I can, use that for that, or just its Laserdisc sound. This one is going to be using the analog outs, going into the dedicated CD connector on my, they're CD RCANs, but it's labeled CD on my amplifier, and it has a button which isolates it further than the other connectors to reduce the signal, to improve signal to noise ratio, that sort of thing. Lots of usual, the stuff no one reads. Probably saying they can come and steal this from your house whenever you want, and then the FCC says it's not putting out annoying frequencies. And the label here, DX-C390, made by Onkyo in Malaysia, and this must truly be a refurbished unit because it has stickers all over it, including on the bottom, right there, certified refurbished. Oh, and there's bottom's just plain with feet, nothing really going on. So this is a basic unit. I'm going to get it hooked up, and I will kind of look at its operation and see how it goes. There's no point in really doing a sound demo once again, because it's, you'll be listening through the camera's microphone into a edited and then compressed through YouTube video and then out through your headphones, so it's not going to convey it. But I will say that CD quality is very good. Someone could argue it's as good as we ever need it to be. I'm not going to fight on that, but CDs sound really good. And if they've been mastered well, so that they're not, they haven't gone through the loudness wars, you will find that they are quite excellent. And so having a CD player and using CDs that you own, your own media, I think is a good thing. I am a fan of you owning the things you like, movies, music, that sort of thing. And I would rather have it on a high quality disc than an MP3, because the disc, you can rip the disc to your computer, and then you have those uncompressed, high quality CD files, which you can then duplicate on all your devices, however you want to do it, right? I like to own my software, everything. So this should make a fine addition and give me some flexibility of being able to play more than one disc at a time. So I'm going to get it hooked up. There's really nothing to show because I will be setting it where it goes, plugging in a couple RCA connectors, and plugging in the power. So I will be right back after doing that, and we'll probably look at the remote. I believe, just glancing at the remote, probably doesn't have too many extra features that the front panel doesn't have, other than maybe buttons for the discs. There should be a way to program like what order you want things to be played in. I'm not sure how often I'll use that. And you should be able to punch in directly which track on which disc you want to listen to. So there, it looks like it's got some metal in there, but and basic RCA cables. I have nicer ones I use, mainly because they're super flexible and have big, heavy metal connectors, and I like them. All right, well, probably broke something. Let's get it hooked up. All right, so we are looking at the unit actually doing its random function. It's pulled up a disc, it's spun it up, and now it's going to select the track on it. So I thought I'd go over some of the features that I actually found a good description of that weren't in the manual. So VQA is a vector quantizer audio DAC technology. So something to do with its DAC, and it also has 128x oversampling. So that process is to take the original signal, oversample it a bunch, to then apply filtering to it. The end result, and this is something that's been in CD players for a long time, of varying levels of oversampling, it results in the filtering being less harsh. Some of the early ones had what was called a brick wall filter. So you just sample the normal frequency, and then once you got to the point where you needed to cut it off, it was just a hard chop. And that it felt unnatural. There was something that wasn't quite right with it. So they found that oversampling it, applying the filtering, and then bringing everything back down to where it normally would be for CD quality resulted in a better effect. So that's been something used in many CD players. 128x seems to be pretty high up there. So other features of it, so that I'll just read verbatim. So the direct digital path. Unlike other CD players that use PC board copper traces to transfer the digital audio signal, the DX-C390 employs a high purity, heavy gauge, shielded cable to directly output the digital bit stream straight from the disc to the back panel. The result is a noise-free digital audio signal that's less susceptible to flux. So that must be exclusively for the digital outputs on the back. So not using it myself. The VLSC, a vector linear shaping circuitry. Conventional digital to analog conversion methods reduce digital pulse noise at the conversion stage, but can't remove it completely. Previously only available on Onkyo's high-end components, VLSC employs a unique DA conversion circuit to overcome this problem. Data is converted between the sampling points, and these discrete sampling points are joined with analog vectors in real time to produce a smooth output wave, the result a noiseless, smooth analog signal based on the digital source. So that's the marketing gubbins for the technology in here. We're going to open it up. We're going to look at the remote a little quicker. Currently I do have discs in here playing randomly, so we'll stop that. The remote has basically all the same features. You can punch in the disc's number. You can set the different modes. There's a memory mode where you can program things in. I'm not particularly, this isn't like a full-blown review, so probably not a feature I'm going to use much. Random I will use a lot. And repeat is something if you want to repeat a disc or a song or whatnot. This thing can also take MP3 discs, up to 499 items and up to 99 folders, something like that. A relatively high amount. Dedicated buttons for switching between discs and skipping up between folders and between tracks and songs. And the plus minus is for moving to the next disc, especially when it's time to unload or load. So we're going to stop this guy. Also the batteries, this is the Panasonic guys, we're already in the remote. So I'm guessing that either this actually was refurbished, but I'm not sure how well it was used because it seems perfect. So maybe it was something where someone got it and immediately returned it, and then they put the remote batteries in the remote, the engineers to test it, or the person got it, used it a bit, immediately returned it. Who knows? So let's crack it open. So that's fun. So this light, its purpose is supposed to be to give you a little bit of light when you're working in here. I don't know if that's really enough to do with what you're doing. But if you notice, at the top of each disc, there's an embossed number, so you know which one you're working with. This holds 6, and when one is playing, which is in the back corner with a clamp mechanism, this you can kick out and switch out all the other discs. It will just intentionally skip over the spot that has the disc it's playing, because you can't put in 6 new discs with a 7th playing, because it would have nowhere to put it. But using the disc plus or minus buttons, you can cycle through and switch out your discs. I got this set, I think, in high school. Baroque music, HD classics. They put out a number of sets, and they're good. Apparently, when they recorded and mastered at 20-bit is one of their key things. I think at 44.1 kilohertz, maybe 48. But point is, they just tout their mastering, and their music is good. And then this other one is in there, so I had enough. Yeah, you can cycle through one way or the other. Close it on up. It spins in. And if we hit random mode, which will be this button here, it's going to cycle through. And now it's playing. So anyway, so far it's performing very well. The sound is good, as you would expect. I mean, CDs sound excellent, especially when they are mastered nicely. Classical tends to be that way. If you're wondering, on top of my Laserdisc player, which I have featured in a video, focusing mainly on its video quality and whether you should use an upscaler or whatnot, I have found that connected with a TV that has a good, like, built-in upscaler, or at least just system to handle its video, it looks better than that cheap upscaler I was using, and the colors don't look poorly. So if you want to go back to that video, you can, but the point is, I'd say try it without it and see if your TV does a good job. But if you notice, there's some layers between the two of these. These are also very big units, as you can probably tell, so they don't fit into the nooks in my entertainment center. These are felt pads. You can get them if you go onto Amazon. These big, fairly thin but wide ones, which are just gray felt, they're typewriter pads. And I like to use them under big components, keep them from damaging or pressing into the wood. It makes it easy. You can scoot them around if you need to reposition them to make things even. And I don't like components, so I'm going to set them on another one, which is perfectly fine in most cases. I don't want the possibly thin rubber or foam feet, compressing down and having metal on metal. Also, some rubber feet will leave markings. So having these to have a little more padding and just to separate them is good. It might reduce vibration a little bit, especially this Laserdisc player does vibrate a bit because Laserdiscs are big, and when they're spinning very fast, if they're not perfect, you can hear a little bit of vibration, so this might clamp it down and dampen it, or damp it. I think dampening is, properly speaking, making something wet. So yeah, this is the machine. So I just wanted to show it off basically and say that they do still exist. This seems to be a decent unit. The reviews on it being unreliable seem to be older reviews, probably when this was a newer unit. It's been in production a long time and kind of recently has become available again. I'm sure, all the usual insert reasons here have reduced the supply. But I highly recommend it because I prefer, as I mentioned, owning my media. And CD quality is excellent, so this is a handy unit to have, especially if you don't want to switch out a disc every time you finish it. The Laserdisc player is a very good CD player. Especially the high-end ones, they really intentionally wanted them to be good at playing CDs. So these old Pioneer units with their legato link conversion, which is basically their twist on their filtering and their digital analog converter, sound great. But if you want something where you don't really want to rely on the conversion components in either of these. You can use an external digital to analog converter, either in your integrated amplifier, if you have an integrated amplifier, or maybe it's probably some preamps that have them, or a separate box. And some of those can be quite expensive. And I think at a certain point, you're just throwing money away, but there's probably a point. And CD quality is substantial. So this is my hopefully reasonably short video on this. It's a CD changer. If you look in Goodwill, I bought this and then went to Goodwill and found a couple different CD changers available. You'll find this carousel style. You'll also find cartridge style, where there's a little box that can punch out. You put discs in and put it back in different forms. I'd say go ahead and look for one in your local, junk store. If you like the idea of having something that can randomly play each individual, just go through all the songs on, 5, 6 discs. There are some big units that store discs on their sides, so they have a big carousel. And those, I've seen it can have up to 300 discs, which is insane. I highly recommend it. If you're going to get into music, and if you're getting into media, having your own music in something physical, CD is a really great place to start, because CDs are relatively inexpensive. They're ubiquitous. You can find them everywhere. A lot of mixed store, I don't know if mixed store is the right word, but a grocery store that also has clothes and electronics, a department store kind of scenario. When I think a department store, I think of something a little different from what I'm imagining. But anyway, there's still CDs. People put out CDs when they're making new music still, because it's an excellent format. This was I think it's $199 for this guy. But if you go to Goodwill, you might find one for $30, something like this. It's a great little way to get into the music hobby. So that is that. I hope you folks have a great day and a great week, and I will talk to you later. Goodbye, and see you in another video.